Humble beginnings. The formative years. Jeff Bezos was born on January 12, 1964, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to a young mother, Jacqueline, who was just 17 at the time. His biological father, Ted Jorgensen, was a simple man with limited prospects. When Jeff was only a toddler, his mother divorced Ted, and soon after, she married Miguel Bezos, a Cuban immigrant who worked as an engineer at Exxon. Though not his biological father, Miguel embraced Jeff as his own, teaching him the value of hard work and perseverance. Growing up in Houston, Texas, young Jeff was an inquisitive child with a deep curiosity for how things worked. He had a passion for fixing things, whether it was taking apart his family's garage door opener or turning his parents' house into a makeshift laboratory. His stepfather, Miguel, noticed Jeff's growing interest in mechanics and mathematics and nurtured it, even guiding him through early science projects. It was clear early on that Jeff was no ordinary child. He had a relentless drive to learn and innovate. But Jeff's journey wasn't always smooth. By the time he was a teenager, his family had moved to Miami, where he attended high school. The adjustment wasn't easy. He often felt out of place, especially at Miami Palmetto High School, where his peers struggled to understand his strange blend of genius and awkwardness. The challenges of adolescence only fueled his desire to prove himself. Still, adversity wasn't foreign to Jeff. His stepfather's encouragement and the lessons in perseverance instilled in him a quiet confidence that would later become the hallmark of his character. He excelled academically, earning a place at Princeton University, where he would later graduate with honors in electrical engineering and computer science. While many of his peers followed the traditional path into prestigious careers, Bezos remained focused on something bigger, something the world had yet to fully grasp: the Internet. Yet, even at Princeton, Bezos wasn't immune to self-doubt. Despite his brilliance, he often grappled with the fear that his big ideas might never come to fruition. He wrote in his personal journal about how he felt unworthy of his success, how unsure he was about whether the world would ever see him as a true innovator. But he carried on, pushing through those moments of doubt, as if knowing that they were part of a much bigger, unfolding story. As Jeff graduated in 1986, a sense of purpose solidified in his mind. The child who once dismantled electronics in his backyard was now ready to take on the world. Armed with his Princeton degree, Bezos set his sights on something that few at the time could comprehend: the World Wide Web. But before he could change the world, he first needed to find his path, and that path would not be without its challenges. The journey ahead would require not just intelligence, but an unwavering belief in the impossible. And Jeff Bezos was already preparing for that belief to carry him far beyond the ordinary. The birth of Amazon, a dream in the making. By the time Jeff Bezos was in his early 30s, he had already worked in high-powered roles at some of the world's most respected financial institutions. But the fast-paced, cutthroat world of Wall Street couldn't satisfy his deeper yearning for something more. Bezos had a vision, not just to make money, but to change the world. And it was this vision that would lead him to one of the boldest decisions of his life: leaving a stable career to build something entirely new. It was 1994 when Bezos first conceptualized Amazon, the idea born from his obsession with the Internet's potential. He saw the web not just as a means of communication but as an entirely new marketplace, one where the world's goods could be delivered to anyone's doorstep with the click of a button. The opportunity was clear, but the path ahead was anything but. Bezos' decision was an audacious one: to leave the security of his successful career behind and bet everything on an untested idea. He had no guarantee of success, no roadmap for how to create an online store, and, most of all, no proven business model. But Jeff was not one to shy away from risk. His mind raced with possibilities as he envisioned a world where books could be sold not from physical shelves but from virtual ones, accessible to anyone with an internet connection. In 1994, Bezos packed up and moved to Seattle, Washington, to start Amazon in a modest garage. He brought on a small, dedicated team, and together they built the foundation of what would soon become a global behemoth. Bezos was hands-on in every aspect of the operation, from designing the website to managing the early stages of inventory. He worked tirelessly, often until late at night, while the world around him remained skeptical. Many in his life, including his friends and family, were concerned. They warned him that his venture might fail, that the idea of buying books online would never catch on. Even investors were hesitant, doubting the future of e-commerce. Yet Bezos ignored their doubts, driven by a fierce belief that the internet would be the future of shopping, not just for books, but for everything. Amazon launched in July 1995, and within weeks, the orders started pouring in. It was a modest beginning, but it was proof of concept. Bezos was no longer just a dreamer. He was a pioneer. The orders grew rapidly, and the small team of employees worked around the clock to keep up with demand. However, even as success began to materialize, Bezos found himself in uncharted territory. Financial pressures mounted, and he was forced to make difficult decisions. He focused not on making a profit but on reinvesting in the business, expanding Amazon's offerings and infrastructure, and cultivating a loyal customer base. In just a few years, Amazon transformed from a simple online bookstore into a marketplace that offered everything from music to electronics, and Bezos, once an unknown entrepreneur, began to make waves. His persistence and vision had paid off, and Amazon was no longer just an idea. It was becoming a force to be reckoned with. Overcoming challenges. The power of resilience. By the late 1990s, Amazon was no longer just a hopeful startup. It was a company on the rise, rapidly becoming the go-to online marketplace. But growth came at a price. Jeff Bezos, driven by an insatiable ambition, found himself caught in a delicate balancing act between expanding the business and keeping it afloat. The early days of Amazon were fraught with financial struggles. Despite the increasing customer base, profits remained elusive. Every penny Bezos earned was reinvested into the business, leading to a cycle of constant financial pressure. In 1999, Bezos made a choice that would later define his career. Rather than focusing on short-term profits, he prioritized long-term growth. His decision to reinvest Amazon's revenue rather than distribute it as profit was a bold, if risky, move. It left many questioning his judgment. Skeptics, including analysts and investors, were adamant that Bezos was sacrificing stability for an uncertain future. In an era when Wall Street demanded immediate returns, Bezos' refusal to cater to that pressure was a gamble, but one that would pay off in ways few could predict. As Amazon expanded, so did the challenges. The company's warehouses, once small and manageable, grew to monstrous proportions. The logistics required to ship millions of products across the country became an overwhelming task. Bezos found himself working around the clock, often sleeping at the office, consumed by the complexities of operations. The pressure mounted with each passing day, and as Amazon became a global player, the stakes became even higher. A single misstep could bring the whole company crashing down. Then, in 2000, disaster struck. The dot-com bubble burst. A financial crisis that crippled many tech companies sent shockwaves through the industry. Amazon's stock value plummeted, and rumors swirled that Bezos had pushed his company too far, too fast. The market was unforgiving, and the future of Amazon seemed uncertain. Yet, even as the world seemed to collapse around him, Bezos remained unshaken. His philosophy was simple. Customer obsession, not profits, would be the company's true north. He knew that if Amazon could weather this storm, it would emerge stronger than ever. During this time, Bezos made some of his most critical decisions. Instead of cutting costs, he doubled down on innovation. One of those innovations was Amazon Web Services, AWS, a cloud computing service that would eventually redefine the technology industry. While many tech companies floundered, Amazon was positioning itself for an entirely new future. Bezos' ability to pivot, to see beyond immediate crises and into the horizon, became the key to Amazon's survival. When the dust settled, Amazon had not only survived the dot-com crash, but it had also become one of the most influential companies in the world. Bezos' resilience had proven the doubters wrong. He had faced immense challenges, financial turmoil, industry skepticism, and the constant pressure of innovation, but his unwavering belief in the long-term vision of Amazon had carried him through. And so, Bezos stood at the helm of a company that, despite its rocky start, was now a force to be reckoned with, ready to take on the future with relentless determination. Overcoming challenges. The power of resilience. By the late 1990s, Amazon was no longer just a hopeful startup. It was a company on the rise, rapidly becoming the go-to online marketplace. But growth came at a price. Jeff Bezos, driven by an insatiable ambition, found himself caught in a delicate balancing act between expanding the business and keeping it afloat. The early days of Amazon were fraught with financial struggles. Despite the increasing customer base, profits remained elusive. Every penny Bezos earned was reinvested into the business, leading to a cycle of constant financial pressure. In 1999, Bezos made a choice that would later define his career. Rather than focusing on short-term profits, he prioritized long-term growth. His decision to reinvest Amazon's revenue rather than distribute it as profit was a bold, if risky, move. It left many questioning his judgment. Skeptics, including analysts and investors, were adamant that Bezos was sacrificing stability for an uncertain future. In an era when Wall Street demanded immediate returns, Bezos' refusal to cater to that pressure was a gamble, but one that would pay off in ways few could predict. As Amazon expanded, so did the challenges. The company's warehouses, once small and manageable, grew to monstrous proportions. The logistics required to ship millions of products across the country became an overwhelming task. Bezos found himself working around the clock, often sleeping at the office, consumed by the complexities of operations. The pressure mounted with